Namaskar and welcome to Apollo 24/7's Health Hour, where we bring in experts from Apollo hospitals every Sunday and discuss a topic. Today, we are going to talk about obesity in men in their 30s, the beer belly, and all questions around how to maintain fitness. So, we are going to be joined by not one but two experts, and a star is going to join us today. So, if you want to join us and ask questions, do hop on. You are watching this on Facebook pages, you are watching this on YouTube as well. But if you have a query or question, please do join us on Apollo 24/7's YouTube page, where you can type in your query. You can type in your queries everywhere, but if you want me to take this question or your comment to any of our expert on the show, I would request you to join us on YouTube and then like, subscribe, share, of course, because there's much more content that you can enjoy, and there's so much of information that Apollo 24/7 shares. And once you start typing your questions, I will request all the audience to give in as much information like age, gender, your concern, the medications, or duration, everything in one possible question, so that I can address the question in total. It will get difficult for me to scroll down and find the entire question. चलिए आज के टॉपिक के लिए टॉपिक के बारे में बात करते हैं. We're going to talk about obesity in men in their 30s, beer belly, and associated problems. Today we are going to have two experts. पहले expert को हम introduce करते हैं. Today we have Dr. Rakesh Periwal. Dr. Rakesh Periwal is a general physician, internal medicine, Apollo Hospitals, Guwahati से join हो रहा है. With 13 plus years of experience in his field, Dr. Rakesh Periwal can be consulted for obesity, lifestyle disorders, and he is a specialist in critical care medicine as well. So here's Dr. Rakesh Periwal. Good morning, doctor. Welcome onto the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
Yes, you look very fit. So absolutely an inspiration for the audience.
Yes. And that's basically one part of preventive health care. So it's not just about getting tests done, but putting an effort from your end as well.
Absolutely, doctor. So wonderful joining us. We appreciate your time on a Sunday morning. And let me also invite the other guest onto the show. Today we have a star joining us. We have Ankit Arora, who's an actor and a fitness enthusiast, who has been at the Times of India, Mr. India, top 6 finalist for the Mr. India competition in 2015. And जो लक्ष्मण जी बने थे बड़े एकदम फिट थे. मल्टीपल एड्स एंड शॉर्ट फिल्म्स में हैं. अभी इनकी नई फिल्म रिलीज होने वाली है जो शाहरुख खान जी की जवान है, जो सितंबर में हमारे सामने आने वाली है. एंड वेब सीरीज में इनकी नई वेब सीरीज वूट पे आने वाली है. एंड लॉट ऑफ एंथोलॉजी सीरीज ऑन Amazon Prime releasing this year. We have our star today, Ankit Arora. Let me welcome Mr. Ankit Arora onto the screen. Good morning.
Hi. How are you?
Wow. Very well, and looking forward for all the fitness and किसी को आपकी तरह बनना है तो जरा हमें गाइड कर दीजिए प्लीज.
Thank you. I'll try my best. You're looking very nice yourself, actually.
Thank you so much. Can't compete with you all, but yes, trying to. Thank you. So here's our star and our expert here. The frame looks really very nice and colorful. Let me start with Dr. Rakesh Periwal. Dr. Rakesh, I see that a lot of people have already joined us. So there are people who are asking about questions, obesity, weight, height. So everything is being asked about. I'll take those questions in a bit. But I would want to understand, obesity, क्या ये हमारे हाथ में है कुछ कंट्रोल करने के फैक्टर्स? Am I inviting obesity, or there is something predominantly other factors like genetical disposition कुछ है क्या? How do we understand obesity? Is there a difference in men and women in obesity?
See, if we look at our childhood, we would hardly find people who were obese around us. So not in your class, not in your neighborhood. It was rare. मोटू कह के लोगों को छेड़ते थे हम लोग जो मोटे होते थे. Suddenly you are seeing a lot of people who are obese. The worst part is acceptance. Nobody does anything about it because it just looks like a shape. It's more than that. Probably one of the biggest modifiable risk factors for any of the chronic disorders is obesity. And it's time we started looking at our weight from a serious health perspective. That is number one. Number two is obesity is unmissable. You see yourself in the mirror and you know you're obese or not. And still we don't react. That's very surprising. For else, we don't get tests done. I can understand. You may not know about your disease, but this is so visible. But the worst which has happened is it's starting very early in your life. For women, there are
Absolutely.
issues with reproductive health, pregnancy, thereafter development of metabolic disorders. For men, minus this, everything else. And the point is, we all have metabolic memories. We need to understand we are like time bombs. We are ready to not burst any time. But when you have obesity with you just get everything wrong. Everything in our country happens a decade earlier compared to our Western counterparts when it comes to metabolic disorders. That is bad news. Diabetes, hypertension, cardiac disease, for everything, we are at an increased risk. And you add to that this phenomena of obesity. And one of the other interesting features about obesity in this part of the world is we have more fat compared to the muscle mass for the same amount of weight. So even if you're ideal for your height, for your weight, you still may have a punch because we generally are less muscular and we tend to
Okay.
have that fat around the belly more so. You find it majority of people now.
Okay, so here quickly I would want to come to Ankit. Ankit, I know that you're a fitness enthusiast, and I'm not sure if you've become an actor after becoming enthusiastic in fitness, or they must be related some way or the other. That was your career, and you have to look good. You have a motivation to keep yourself fit. As an actor, I understand that I need to be fit too, but not many professions need fitness as a
Yeah.
mandatory requirement. So there is a very difficult time for them to keep themselves motivated to be fit. How do you understand this daily motivation to keep yourself fit?
Actually, it's very interesting that you brought this up because now when I meet someone and they just ask me that what do you do, and I say I'm an actor, and then they're like, oh, we figured you look like an actor. But I would like to share light on this that my fitness journey started way before I entered into this field, this art form. I was a very skinny kid. मुझे हड्डियों का ढांचा बुलाते थे लोग. मैं इतना पतला
Oh,
था जो सिर्फ दाल चावल खाता था. And
oh,
adding to what Dr. Rakesh said, when I started gymming, when I was very skinny, my weight was 68. But when I had made a very good physique, which was after 3 years I started, my weight was just 75, 75, 76. But the amount of, like I had completely transformed into this another person, I was unrecognizable. So
gee.
I also believe that, weight not really matters a lot. जो आपका मेट्रिक है वो इतना मैटर नहीं करता है बट आर यू एक्चुअली फीलिंग फिट आई थिंक दैट्स व्हाट वी शुड फोकस ऑन बट लाइक यू सेड इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर आवर फील्ड to present ourselves in the best possible way we can, and I'm sure as an actor you also understand this. So yeah, it is.
Yes, but then for how about somebody who's not from a field which requires to be fit? How do you keep yourself motivated? Any tips from you there?
Uh, Actually, I read this very interesting article somewhere that if you can somehow, if you want to develop a new habit, if you can somehow relate to the career, somehow to your career, some aspect of your career or some aspect of your future goal, then it's easier, relatively easier to, inculcate a habit, a new habit.
Gee.
So definitely the motivation is always within, but you need to find yourself, you need to find that for yourself. I mean, there's no formula for that.
Yeah. Dr. Rakesh, one quick question before I take Vishnu Kondapalli's question and also Sean David's question. They're waiting for us to answer their questions on YouTube. Let a few more questions flow. I'll get into the YouTube chat. But Dr. Rakesh, let me understand that obesity is not just a appearance and physical factor. It also has other health issues, which it is like bringing. It's a pandemic looming behind me. Can we quickly throw what are the problems that one can find themselves after they are obese, and where do they land?
See, we accumulate that fat because of inactivity, but the fat is very active. We believe it just changes the internal milieu, the metabolic milieu, and some of the most common disorders of cholesterol, hypertension, cardiac disease, diabetes, fatty liver, then snoring and sleep apnea. Mechanical back pain because the posture changes tremendously. Look at a woman who puts on 12 kgs during pregnancy. Very small amount of weight. 12 kg overweight is something you might find everywhere around. But look at what happens to the back and the pelvis because they all put it in the tummy, nowhere else. It's very similar. There is a tremendous amount of mechanical disadvantage as well. When you're overweight, your knees do not take the weight anymore. Your osteoarthritis worsens and you're like knee replacement very early in your life. One of the major problems also which has happened in the last decade or two is our life expectancy has increased significantly. So we are expected
Correct.
to live much more with the same body. How do you do that? You need to keep your internal milieu really good. Only then,
Right.
it might be misfortune if we have to hit our 80s and 90s with no concern for our health. That's not going to happen. Let's say you will be on the wrong side of odds, you're obese, inactive, you're not taking care of metabolic health. It's very, very unlikely that you reach that good. No, I take inspiration from politicians. And my major inspiration is Narendra Modi. I mean, when I look at him, I find him tremendously fascinating with the power of energy. Where do you get, people tell me I don't have time, and I said, look at the Prime Minister. He also has 24 hours. That's the privilege which is same for all of us. All of us. How do you get time in your life is on to you. But nobody is blessed with more than that. That formula no one can give you. So I
Yeah.
tried the formula of waking up 4:30 in the morning. We have an early sunrise here. Looks odd, but that's it. The sunrise here was 4:15 today. I'm still late. But that really changes the amount of time I have for myself. Or whatever way I plan it. I mean, you can give it to exercise, you can give it to your hobby, whatever. That's the first thing you need to do. And then try to see that you use the time constructively, meaningfully. And the other thing which I have realized fairly late, we take health for granted. We don't look at health like we look the health of our children. We look take care of their grooming and their food, everything, how do they grow up. But after a
Yeah.
certain point of time, we think our body needs no care. That's not the case. Absolutely
Yes.
not. And the onus is not because we are going to live long. Obesity is
So if
probably
not the
one part
profession,
of that bad lifestyle.
so if not the profession, as you say, it's your health which
Yes.
will give you the call.
But you will be professionally better engaged. If you're keeping healthy, your productivity in any profession increases. See, honestly speaking, I'm not a fitness enthusiast. My profession doesn't require me to, look fit. But my productive work hours are excellent because I have more regulated sleep time. I have more productivity. I don't feel tired. I can work longer. Recreation is also better. You're not tired at the end of the day. Reaching home, having a dinner, you're still fresh. And that's because probably you're
Absolutely.
taking a little care of yourself.
Absolutely. Ankit, one quick question. As we're talking about beer belly, and that's our title for today. So let's also talk about, while there is this, I know I want to look good, I want to hit the gym, I want to exercise, yoga, and all other fitness activities, there is also an equal pressure from the society that you need to be socially active and you need to consume alcohol to be do so to be active socially. So how does, especially we're talking about men in 30s, what kind of this
Yeah.
dichotomy create? What kind of pressure and how does one break through?
My first experience to this was when I started my career in a corporate company. And I used to see this culture that people, in order to connect with your manager or with the management, people used to start going out for smoking. And it's like a very sacred thing in between those people. It's a bond which they share. Cut 2 years later, when I got into acting, and how people say that networking is the most important aspect of any profession now, especially in our field, because it's a very, it's a very random industry. Like there's no way that you can, I'll tell you do
It's not
this and you'll become a
structured.
star.
It's a
It's not
network.
structured. Yeah, it's a network. So the more people you meet, the bigger your network is, the more opportunity you can develop for yourself. So, yes, at the same time, networking is very important, but then it completely depends upon you how, till what extent you want to give in. Like our industry is so infamous for doing all kinds of bad things in the world. But that's again your personal choice. I mean, you can meet people and drink a cocktail maybe. You don't need to get sloshed, you don't need to come
Oh,
at
let's
4 in the
also
morning.
talk about the pressure, the peer pressure. The moment
Exactly.
you hold a mocktail, especially men, women are
Yeah.
still accepted for holding a mocktail. Dr. Rakesh, would you agree to this that men also go through a lot of pressure? There's so much of toxic masculinity outside that you are compromising on your health issues.
Yeah, does happen, but fairly early. That is fairly early in your life. I won't think it's fairly late. Okay, somewhere maybe in your 20s, maybe, or maybe late school, somewhere like that. See, one of the learning lessons is cut down. If you can't quit, you cut down. It has to be limited. I always tell my patients, if you have 1 hour daily to drink alcohol, forget alcohol. Look at your life. It's absolutely useless. If you can spare that 1 hour of your life just on a habit which is absolutely useless, then you got to reconsider your life itself. What are you doing with your time? Maybe? That is the time which you spend to whatever of addiction you call it, substance abuse, whatever, should also be very limited. That is one part. And the other part is taking that routine in such a way that it doesn't leave you with much time to do it. I think majority of people who drink regularly do it as a part of a routine. They have a timing to it. They have a place to it. It's not an easy act. Gulping down that alcohol is not an easy job. It takes a lot of time. It needs a lot of arrangement. Sometimes it needs people. It's absolutely an organized activity. That's where you need to come out of. That Saturday drink, sometimes it's fine. That's not a problem. But if you're socializing daily and that's a compulsion on you to drink, oh God, you need to relook at life.
Great. So let me start with Vishnu Kondapalli's question. Vishnu is from Andhra Pradesh, and he is been battling obesity since young. 31-year-old है, 80 kilos है, 5 feet 4 inches उनका height है, and childhood से ये slightly obese रह चुके हैं. Can I need to help myself? Can I take medication? Or will yoga, naturopathy help? What can I do? Is intermittent fasting helpful in reducing my weight? Vishnu has asked too many questions over the chat, so I'm just asking a few questions. So let's take obesity right from childhood, and he's struggling with it. 31-year-old hai, 80 kilos hai. First Dr. Rakesh and then Ankit.
See, in modern medicine, we understand obesity just as an imbalance of energy. You have excess energy, which generally comes from food, and you burn that energy in daily activities and exercise, and that imbalance causes weight gain. And that imbalance is deposited generally, if you're inactive, around your belly as fat. That is the whole concept. Maybe it's oversimplification, but that's how we look at it. And then we look at the process of weight gain. You have that 100, 200, 300 calories going wrong, and in a month or two, you can just put another kg. It happens so slowly that you don't realize. So you were 60 at some point of time. It takes a year or two to be 65 and then 70. One of the most important is to track your weight. You need to tell yourself at one point of time, just when you're crossing the line, that you are getting on the wrong side of things. That is number one. Number two, regarding weight loss, we focus on diet mainly in terms of calories, so not the composition. Although there might be people who may hunt for ketogenic diet, low carbohydrate diet, high protein diet. That's all done. You can try all of them. Take expert opinion before you start doing all these. You can also go for hypocaloric diets, which are less than 500 kilocalories per day. One thing you remember is when you do this strenuous calorie restriction, you lose a lot of fluid during the weight loss. So in a 10 to 15 days, you are down by 2, 3, 4 kgs. That happens. That is with hypocaloric diet, but you will get back the water in after some time. So you will find a lot of people going out in these naturopathic clinics or some special clinics for a month, lose 5, 6 kgs, come back and gain. Because that's what you lost. Water. Water 1 liter is 1 kg. So that's it. And 50% of us is water. Only 20% of us is fat. So that loss has to come only from fat. And ideally, if you're losing 1 kgs, it's 900 grams which should come from fats and only 100 ml from the water part. So when you're losing weight, track your belly as well and not just your weight. Because when you're losing inches, roughly 2.5 to 3 kgs, if you're losing, you should be able to cut down around an inch. It's a rough estimate. That's healthy weight loss. You can undergo surgeries for weight loss. That's done for morbidly obese people who have comorbid illnesses as well. So we have bariatric surgery. The program has reached tremendous levels. It has given life to so many people who are morbidly obese. Medicines, yeah, they are available now. So you have a injectable medicine now available, which is recommended for weight loss. And there are medicines now for diabetic patients, which also promote weight loss. So you have the double benefit. of losing down weight and getting your sugars under control. This is what modern medicine has to offer to you. Beyond that, intermittent fasting you want to do, or you want to cut down calories in some way, you want to change the composition of food, we do not know. But everything is worth a trial. So you try it yourself. It's a very objective thing. You can look at your weight again and you see whether the formula is going wrong or right.
Wonderful. Ankit ji, I think as a 31-year-old male, Vishnu is worried about 80 kilos of weight. So it's not about, the ones I think somebody started to look at their weight and height and, somebody started to throw light on the way that they're looking. That much is enough to start off on a fitness journey. What would you advise, Vishnu?
No, no, absolutely. I think when what all you mentioned about Vishnu, it's more about I heard more about the things which he's concerned about or worried about. But I don't know what is he doing about them in terms of fitness aspect. Is he walking? Is he
Correct.
jogging? Is he smoking? Is he going to the gym? So my advice would be more from my own experience, and I would love to talk about my mother because my mother is such a great example for this. She also is more inclined towards taking the medication, going towards homeopathy or allopathy. But all I keep saying to my mom is just start get into that habit of walking. Just instill that habit, some habit which makes you more energetic, which makes you more lively. So, I mean, if you think that medication would be good for something you're battling with, then go ahead with it. But from my own experience, I think if you can resort to something with respect to fitness, maybe going to the gym or running, that would help, to fight with this more. And that would be also in the longer run. So the
Right.
aim is to get off the medication and be as natural as you can. So it might give you
This is
instant
one very
results.
interesting aspect which he raised, that if you do it by lifestyle modification, whatever, if you're tackling a metabolic disorders, it has longevity as well. It stays longer. So medications, one of the major problems is they work for you, but beyond a point of time, they stop working because the organs which were responsible for that function are not functioning still. You're supplementing from something from outside, modifying something from outside. Good enough. I don't. That's my job, writing medicines. Yeah, but maybe it needs to be complemented sometimes, or maybe sometimes all you need is exercise and diet modification. It depends on how it works on you.
And also, as Ankit has pointed out, it has to be continuity. It is not
Yeah,
that I've done it for a period and
yeah.
I'm done. कि जैसे ब्रीदिंग है, मैंने 4 इनहेल किया, 4 एक्सहेल किया, अभी 1 आवर तक मेरे लिए बस हो
हाँ,
जाएगा, ये नहीं कहेंगे हम. तो कंटिन्यूअसली जैसे हम ब्रीथ करते हैं, एक्सरसाइज हैज टू बी अ पार्ट, राइट अंकित?
या
आई थिंक दैट्स
आपको
व्हाट यू मेंट
आपको
टू
एक
से व्हेन.
या आपको एक हैबिट, विष्णु, इफ यू आर लिसनिंग टू मी, आपको एक हैबिट डेवलप करनी पड़ेगी जो आप बेसिकली सिर्फ वॉकिंग से शुरू कर सकते हो. एंड अगर आप वॉकिंग करते हो तो आप प्रोबेबली रनिंग पे आ सकते हो, आप योगा कर सकते हो. आई विल नॉट सजेस्ट मेडिकेशन बिकॉज दैट डज नॉट टेक यू इन द लॉन्गर रन. सो या दैट्स द प्लान.
Yes.
And one
So
other thing I would like to add is, if you want to boost your metabolism, wake up with sunrise. This synchrony with the sun, we call it the circadian rhythm, is very interesting. I'll tell you, I was all around 73 kgs. I work out regularly, and I started this morning jog at 4:30. The sunrise here is fairly early. I lost 3 kgs, and I was wondering, where did I lose it from? I look all the same. I don't have the scope for losing weight. And then I realized I lost another inch. And you sometimes do not realize that there is extra fat there even with normal body weight. So I think if you can synchronize yourself to the sun, which is the most easy job to do, it gives you more time in your life as well. Maybe your metabolism gets boosted. There are foods as well which people say might boost your metabolism. I eat fruits and vegetables and I feel absolutely on top. I sometimes feel they boost my metabolic health. You can try all that. That's all in good fun. Wake up early, take time to exercise, get a lot of fruits and vegetables in your diet. They're low calorie as well. Maybe they boost your metabolism as
wonderful, and I would want to add a point that Vishnu has mentioned here. Vishnu has been a vegetarian all his life, and he wants to continue to be a vegetarian. And let's also talk about this along with alcohol, the meat consumption, its benefits, pros and cons of meat consumption as protein and also as these extra calorie food that we eat. How conscious one needs to be. Dr. Rakesh, you go first, and then I'll come to Ankit.
See, I'm a predominantly vegetarian. Nothing non-veg is cooked in my food, so it's very easy. If you're worried about the proteins in your diet, you can drop that because these recommendations came from Western countries. But still, the best protein that you can have is through nuts and seeds. They have fairly good protein. Almost 20% to 25% of the weight is protein in them. Nuts are special because they are the only food which has protein, fat, and carbohydrate all packed together. Make it a daily part of your habit. The other thing you can eat more for protein is pulses, and among the grains, it's the bajra, which is higher on the protein content. Rice is marginally lower content. Wheat is somewhere in between, and then you go to corn and maize, which has slightly higher protein content. That is what you can look at. Fruits and vegetables are also vegetarian, so you have no issue. Probably the only food which has universal appeal is fruits and vegetables. Which are the diseases they can correct? Hypertension is one of them. That's a part of something called Mediterranean diet. If you take a lots of fruits and vegetables, you may be able to cut down on your blood pressure. They are generally lesser in calories. Do not make juices out of them. That makes them a little dense calories. So we prefer juices for the sick patient, for the elderly, where we are really concerned about low calorie intake. Whereas when you are worried about higher calorie intake, you go over to whole fruits and vegetables. That is one part. So I think vegetarians, there's nothing to be worried about. I think if you take supplements, if you really need protein supplements, maybe Ankit can tell if that's really necessary to pump up muscles. I have never taken. I work out in the gym regularly, 1.5 hours daily. I've never taken to that. And my friends tell me, "Oh, you don't take proteins. How are you going to grow your muscles?" And I said, "I don't need so much of them." So you don't need
Wonderful.
proteins of non-vegetarian nature to pump up muscles. I don't think so.
So let me shift to my language because Vishnu comes from my region. Vishnu garu, మీరు వెజిటేరియన్ అయినా పర్వాలేదని డాక్టర్ రాకేష్ గారు చెప్తున్నారు. మీకు కావాల్సినంత ప్రోటీన్ వెజిటేరియన్ సోర్సెస్లో దొరుకుతుంది కాబట్టి హ్యాపీగా వెజిటేరియన్గా ఉండండి అని ఆయన చెప్తున్నారు. సో లెట్ మీ మూవ్ ఆన్ టు అంకిత్. Ankit, while we understand that protein and meat is a major source of protein for reasons that people are vegetarian and choice that they can make, while taking protein as a supplement, while eating meat, there is also this dense calorie, rich calories one has to be monitoring. What is your advice?
Actually, I'm a vegetarian myself. I
Oh, you're
turned
a
into a
vegetarian
vegetarian.
yourself?
No.
Okay.
Actually, I was not very big on meat before also, but I turned into a vegetarian in the lockdown because I reached a point in my life where I got really sensitive towards animals, and now I just cannot see animal cruelty in any form. I try to be a vegan, but from my experience, what I understand is, I can understand the debate between non-vegetarians and vegans in terms of diet. But for me, the people who I've come across with, people who are more inclined towards being non-vegetarian is just, it just comes down to convenience. It's just convenience and taste. For me, what I've noticed. So for me, since the time I've turned vegetarian, I'm not facing any issue with respect to my diet. I'm getting the same amount of protein. My protein intake is very good, and I realized that you can have that same diet with the vegetarian food as well. It's just a matter of just making an extra effort, because yeah, I do understand that non-vegetarians get a lot of protein from meat. When you switch to being a vegetarian, you just need to figure some things out, just like how a vegan does. Uh, Also, adding to that, I think a non-vegetarian diet also generates a lot of heat in the body, which is not good. And as doctor might share more light on this, it also causes a lot of it can cause a lot of heart issues, health issues in the long run, as far as I have understood it. You
Yeah,
know.
anything in
That,
moderation
that,
is what.
that, that's a very contentious question because all across the globe, food habits are very different. Look at Japanese. They are going to be hitting the century mark. They eat a lot of
Yes.
fish. So it's a lot of fish being eaten. And some people try to divide fish and every other meat in two sections because fish really has a composition of fat which is much different from what is seen in other forms of meat. I do not know how to compare both of them. And many countries which have a higher life expectancy than our country. Our country is predominantly vegetarian. Non-vegetarian food is expensive. That's one of the most important aspects. So majority of the Indians are vegetarian also from this simple reason that it's expensive to eat non-vegetarian. But our life expectancy is somewhere midway, 70s maybe. But if you look at US, 80, 85, 90, they have the obesity epidemic and still they're able to live longer. That is very, very contentious. But there is nothing to choose between the two. If your faith and belief wants you to be vegetarian, you can have all the goodness. If you want to have non-vegetarian, just look at your input. There is a little concern regarding the fat, overall fat intake, a little bit high protein intake. Once you go that beyond 2 gram per kg protein content, some people are a little concerned how good that will be on your body. Well, you can take a call. I know athletes who take much more than that. They burn out more than that. And one of the things which you cannot do with a vegetarian diet, that is one is keto diet, because that is basically eating lots of fats and proteins, which the vegetarian diet doesn't give. It's inherently low fat, high carbohydrate, mid protein kind, including milk
Right.
protein. So your 1 liter of milk is going to give you around 25% to 30% as total protein. So that's the content of milk, which is probably one of the best sources of proteins in vegetarian diet.
Yeah. So let's also get back to intermittent fasting a little while later. But next question I would want to take up is from Mr. Ravindran Satyanathan, 42-year-old hai. I'm having hypothyroidism and my height is 173 centimeters. I'm 96 kilos at the point. At this point, I'm a non-vegetarian but eating very less. I'm unable to lose weight. Advice for people with hypothyroidism. Dr. Rakesh?
Well, advice remains the same. See, once your thyroid supplement is taken and your TSH is corrected, and you have gone 6 months to 1 year down the line with a corrected TSH level, now you cannot implicate your hypothyroidism anymore for the weight gain or for the persistence of the weight. You might have gained that weight because of hypothyroidism, but by now, when it gets corrected, you should have lost it. So there are no special recommendations for people who are hypothyroid. Relating the two is also very difficult because both are very common. They may not be related to each other. They may be just associated. That you are hypothyroid, you're obese. And the formula remains the same. If you want to go on that weight loss plan in a healthy way, then you can look at cutting down something like 1 to 2 kgs a month, roughly, which would translate into somewhere around 17 to 18,000 calorie deficit. 1 kg of fat is around 9,000 calories. As I said, 90% fat, 10% water, maybe 8,000 calories you lose as fat, and that rest you lose as water. So 900 grams and 100 grams is water and fat. And if you try to achieve a deficit of around 18,000 to 20,000 calories, which is roughly around 5 to 700 calories a day, not a difficult idea, you should be able to cut down 1 kg. That's what modern medicine says. And as you start losing weight, it starts getting a little difficult because your metabolism slows down. So if you have a lot of weight to start with, you should be very happy. You can lose very easily. Initial 5 kg, 10 kgs goes away very fast. And it slows down a little bit. That is where persistence is needed. So maybe the next 6 months, you can half down your goal and then try to see that you're losing inches along with the weight, and maybe a little bit put on a little bit of muscle as well. Doesn't matter. So maybe you will be able to. It's roughly said that 3 to 6 months of workout, you should be able to probably add on 1 to 2 kgs of muscle mass, which is excellent. So you put on a little bit of good weight, the muscles, and get rid of the belly fat, because that is what is the most metabolically dangerous. And look at reaching targets according to the initial weight that you have. But look at cutting down 5% to 10% in the first 6 months, and 5% we also say as a target, because if you lose that initial 5%, a lot of metabolic health gets improved. Your sugar starts improving, your cholesterol starts improving, your BP starts improving, your fatty liver starts improving. So you can see improvement with a little bit of weight loss as well. Now, I always insist, even if you can't reach target, get rid of that creamy layer on top. Get a little bit closer to your target, health will come to you. And then maybe be insistent.
Yes. To continue with Dr. Rakesh's point there, Ankit, it's very difficult to keep on a track while you're losing weight, especially when you want to maintain certain amount of weight on your record. How do you keep yourself motivated? One, two, I understand that there are plateaus while you're doing weight and you're increasing muscle mass. Any tips there you would want to give, Mr. Ravindran?
In terms of tracking weight, I'm sorry, I
Yes.
didn't get the. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Ravindran is finding it difficult to continue losing weight, and he's losing motivation to get back.
Yeah, I think one reason of that can be that doing the same thing again and again. So I think what is very important to understand is that body quickly gets used to whatever we are doing. You know, just like in normal life, we get bored of if we start doing the same thing every day, we'll get bored. So exactly how the body operates. So if you're doing the same form of exercise on a repetitive pattern, your body would stop responding. So let's say if you're just going to the gym, just pushing weights, after a point in time, your body would start responding. So that is the time when you can probably completely change your routine. Maybe you can, try doing some yoga. If you walk, if you're just walking for 3 months, you can start sprinting. So the body gets a shock. And the moment the body is in a state of shock, it'll start responding, you know. A lot of people are trying OMAD, talking about intermittent fasting. If you're just, eating 3 meals a day for 5 days a week, you can probably try OMAD, like one meal a day on the weekends. So that will put your body in a state of shock. So anything which puts your body in a state of shock will get you the results slowly, but it will eventually happen.
So kick yourself out of the comfort zone is what Ankit says. Yeah, challenge
Absolutely.
yourself is
Yeah, yeah.
Rakesh's call. So Dr. Rakesh, next question is from Nirmal Singh, who's 35-year-old male. How to lower triglycerides? And a very, very important a topic that we're entering into. Let's talk the lipids. Let's challenge our lipids. The belly fat and lipids and the connection here, please.
Correct. True. See, one of the problems is the triglyceride limits that we have, 150. It's again for the Western population who have a slightly lower carbohydrate intake, but I will still strike to that. 150 should be the ideal range. Your elevated triglyceride do not have cardiovascular risk directly. We don't target triglyceride treatment at all. Let me tell you that. We only look at the LDL cholesterol component. But still, the triglyceride is a reflection of your metabolic health. If you look at the contributors to elevated triglycerides, the most important is alcohol, obesity, and diabetes. These three. So if you have any one of them, they need to be corrected in the first place. Number one. Number two is triglyceride is nothing but fatty acid with glycerol chain. So that's how body fat store. So any excess calorie that you have in your diet, which gets converted into fat, lot of it circulates in the body as as triglyceride. So if you lose weight, your triglyceride decreases. There are certain disorders like hypothyroidism, which is also associated with elevated triglycerides. You can look at that. If you want to have a food supplement which is known to decrease triglyceride levels, it's omega-3 fatty acid levels. That's a medical approval. It's not something fat. So we give omega-3 fatty acid capsules now. People can switch over to taking fish which are high in omega-3 fatty acids, but it generally said it's the sea fish which has a higher omega-3 fatty acid content. You can look at that. Also, you can look at maybe cutting down your carbohydrate intake. This is more from personally me because that is a major source of energy in our diet. So that is where I think we need to look at the triglycerides. One disease which is there is familial hypertriglyceridemia, which is a familial disorder in which many members in the family of triglyceride will levels go into four figures, like thousand and so
Yes, yes.
in
I
that case
know some
also,
people.
yes, but in that case also, we recommend dietary change. We also ask you to cut down on fat intake. Those are the patients who may require a medicine to lower the triglyceride below 500. That's where we think it's safety level. But let me tell you very, very clearly that the clear association between triglyceride and cardiovascular disease is not known. So it should not worry you as much as LDL cholesterol should do. I always tell my patients, please look at the LDL cholesterol first. If that target is met, okay, we will take care of your triglycerides. And if you're still bothered about triglycerides, workout, exercise, restoring insulin sensitivity really cuts down on triglycerides. And one of the best ways to get the insulin working again in your body, what is known as cutting down on that metabolic syndrome, is exercise.
Wonderful. So continuous exercise makes a lot of difference. Ankit, how do you keep your macros and micro intake in? How do you monitor it? And any tips or advice there while working out?
I think like I've been into fitness since the last 10 years, and yeah, I started in my second year of college, and till date I am figuring things about my body, and about my lifestyle. So what I've realized is that it's an ongoing experience. Even 10 years later, I'll still be understanding things about my body and how it responds to a certain exercises. So I think it's very important to mix and match, but establishing a habit, it's very important. So I've started getting up early. The first thing in the morning which I do is meditate for my mind. Then I hit the gym. uh, my diet is pretty clean that ways. I mean, I have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but I have a lots of fruits like Dr. Rakesh said. So it's naturally very clean. And
Okay, I think we are having a technical issue from Ankit's end. But Dr. Rakesh, thank you so much for motivating us with understanding, making us understand about the lipid profile part. Here's another question that talks about age and belly fat. Sean David is asking about ideal weight in multiple age groups. So, does it change according to your age? Does body weight, belly fat, and composition change in men according to the age? Please throw some light.
Not exactly. Yeah, our weight is basically related to our height. And for an adult, roughly, your height in centimeters minus 100. So 6 inches, 6 feet guy would be something like 180 to 183 centimeters, 82 to 83. And the 5 feeter will be something like 150 centimeters or 50 kgs. It's a rough guide. What happens with aging in almost everybody is we start losing muscle mass. That's where we start discounting a little bit. So but that happens fairly late. Maybe in your 60s or 70s, your muscle mass starts decreasing. Your fat proportionately increases a little bit, but the targets that we have for BMI, ideal body weight for height, still remains almost the same. So not much changes, but we really have to struggle to maintain the protein content in the body and the muscle mass. That's really a difficult task.
Right. So, but overall, we need to understand that age के हिसाब से भी men look different according to their ages and their stages of life. Does it remain the same with men and women?
Women, little bit, the difference is that they have a lot of fat below the umbilicus. So it's in the pelvic part, which is not considered metabolically as offensive. So you can have a lot of fat around your back, thighs, which generally men do not have this distribution, generally not. But that's the only difference. Otherwise, if you have that accumulation of fat around the belly, it works all the same for men and women. And I said for women, there are hormonal and reproductive issues in addition. But otherwise, it's all the same.
All right. So yes. So but as a habit, अगर exercise कोई continue करते हैं, तो age wise भी उनको अलग से do we have to understand that your exercise regimen has a different do you have to address the exercise in a different pattern, Ankit?
I think with age, what happens is that a normal person starts getting a lot of responsibilities. Like, people get married, they have a family to take care of, which I think we call as adulting. So, a lot of adulting happens. We have lesser time to go to the gym. People usually are on the phone calls when they're in the gym. So, I think something which is high intensity, which can be done in a shorter duration.
I think Ankit, we are having a trouble with your network. Yes. So intensity and exercise, Dr. Rakesh, would you want to continue with what Ankit is saying?
And see,
Yeah.
we will divide your exercise aerobic capacity basically into intensities based on how your heart rate responds to the exercise. So we say the maximum heart rate attainable is 220 minus age, roughly. So suppose I'm 40 years, but I'm not 40, I'm more than that. So my ideal highest heart rate would be 180. When your exercise pushes your heart rate to around below 60% of that maximum, we will call it mild. 60 to 70% may be moderate. Or one other definition is if you can talk and run at the same time at whatever pace, maybe you are moderate. And once you reach more than 70 to 80% of your target heart rate, then it becomes strenuous exercise or severe exercise like sprinting. What that helps is in burning a little more calories in less amount of time. There's no question about it. Some people, it may not be suited because of the limitations put by their metabolic health as well as the anatomy, bones and joints. We forget that they also start aging. So they may not support you anymore after a certain point of time in life. So that is one problem which happens with a little bit age on the wrong side.
Okay, okay. So quickly, next question is from a registered user. How to control diet and to avoid diabetes in a person with history of diabetes? And of course,
Or
this
you can
is
cut down, you can look at cutting down on your carbohydrates. And that's the biggest interest area. See, the most important diet for a diabetic patient is which keeps him in normal body weight, which we forget. So if you're obese, cut down. So for you, calorie restriction is the diet. If you have lost a lot of muscle mass, then building that is also part of your diet. You see, when your sugars are high, they eat your muscles. When your muscles are high, they eat your sugar. They cut it down. So that is the other part. So I always ask my diabetic patient, hey, put on a little bit of muscle mass. It might just help you. Then
yeah,
a third part which comes is the balance. Some people
yeah,
say the carbohydrate is the biggest stimulus to insulin, so cut down on carbohydrate. Maybe that's the whole idea about the keto diet, that your carbohydrate content is less. But otherwise, you can choose something which is 50-60% carbohydrate, then 20% fat, 20-30% protein, or maybe in some other combinations similarly. But if you are looking at cutting down on one thing, maybe you can look at cutting down the simple carbohydrates like sugars, juices, candies, colas, which are plain carbohydrates. Maybe you can switch over to complex carbohydrates. Fruits and vegetables are also predominantly carbohydrates. You can switch over to them to cut down on the simple carbohydrate intake. That's what
yeah.
is meant for majority of diabetics. But keep yourself normal body weight and exercise. That's the most important way to stimulate and let your insulin work.
Wonderful. So there are a lot of questions around thyroid and hypothyroidism and then TSH levels, which I will bunch up and ask you, Doctor. Ajay Khaitan is 107 kilos and 5'5" है इनका height, TSH level 14 है, unable to lose weight है. And Soumya Goshal, 35-year-old male. Can hypothyroidism cause obesity and is that curable? A lot of
Yes,
questions
yes, that's
around it.
curable. Absolutely, it can do. It can do because it decreases your metabolism, and somehow it favors the bad fat to accumulate as well. But correcting it is very, very simple. You just need to give thyroxine supplement, check your TSH response every 6 to 8 weeks, and keep a target of something like 2 to 4. Majority of people will require that something like 100 microgram or 75 microgram. Some people who are on the overweight side will require more, 125, 150, because your thyroid requirement depends on your body weight. So if you're obese, your thyroxine requirement may also be higher. But it's a safe drug. You can just build up on the drug every 6 to 8 weeks and look at a target of 2 to 4. Once that target is achieved, you continue at the same dose. Then you don't change, don't cut down. Many people ask me, my thyroid got connected. Should I stop the drug or should I cut down on the dose? I said, no, no, that's the ideal dose. We are only titrating you. Once we reach the right titration, we continue with them. I would strongly ask him to consult a doctor, titrate his thyroid supplement to reach a TSH of around 2 to 4, monitor every 6 to 8 weeks. But as I said earlier, even if your thyroid correction happens, there is an active process to weight loss. You will have to follow that. And that comes through that correcting the imbalance in the calories that you've developed over years.
Yeah, there's Krishna who is asking the same question. Ki,
Yeah, I always say you
yes, Krishna.
accumulated the fat over a long period of time. Don't think of losing it in
Exactly.
a few months. Give it maybe a little bit of time, year or two. Be patient. No, you've done something wrong over years. You've not become overweight overnight. And the reversal process has to be a little slow. You just can't push your body, but persist. Look at it, 1-2 kg, good enough. And then continue. So look at your weight also on a regular basis and see that you get to your ideal body.
Absolutely, sir. So Krishna ji, I think your question is also answered because Krishna has had hypothyroidism in 2019. He's not taken his medicine, and how does it impact my health anyway? He's trying to lose weight. I think you have answered his question pretty much. Yeah. So missing
And Apollo
medicine is not
247
the.
does provide consultation. You need to consult a doctor. That is very, very important. Self treatment of hypothyroidism should not be attempted at. You need to consult your doctor, you need to know your target, and you need to know majority of patients would require the thyroxine supplement for the rest of their lives. And if it is for women, again, it is very important because there are a lot of reproductive and hormonal issues additionally associated with hypothyroidism and
So I myself have been hypothyroidic for a very long time, battled with obesity issues, battled with maintaining weight, and then I'm back here completely fit and fine. So, Ankit, do you also have a kind of story to share? Not if you're personal, but anybody that you know.
I was always very skinny, but the thing is that uh, I realized that over a period of time that it's very, though obviously scientifically it's very correct that genetics, plays a very but I've realized that a lot of people put it on luck or genetics. They don't put in the effort, but it's slightly easier to put it on the genetics and the luck. I come from a family where everybody is diabetic. Everybody, like my mom, dad, my grandmother was, my grandfather was, but like I've instilled very good habits in myself. So that, tomorrow if I have a son, he won't say that, genetically I might have diabetes because of my father. So yeah, long story short, like doctor said, exercise, put in the work. You've
Yeah.
acquired this fat over 30 years of your life. It won't go within one day. You'll have to be
I
persistent.
always say we share genes, we also share the same kitchen. We forget that. We eat also
Yeah,
the
exactly,
family.
exactly.
Sometimes you need to find the fault in your kitchen rather than in your genes. That is number one. And number two, be whatever how you accumulate. It doesn't matter. I mean, people question why did I become? That's not a question I want to answer. We need to only answer what will get you down to normal body weight. That is important. And this imprinting does occur. So you inherited whatever legally, but one thing which you will definitely inherit is genes. That is for sure. And we always say family, if you have that risk associated with cardiac disease, diabetes, hypertension, you can actually assume it to be a risk factor in yourself and do a modification. So when you have somebody with cardiac illness in your family, the modification that you do is don't smoke, give up tobacco, because you are already at high risk because of the genetic predisposition.
So you have
So
an
we need
even
to
more
find,
reason. You have a very
yeah,
strong reason to be more
geez,
cautious.
Exactly, absolutely,
absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely.
You're
So
aware of
we
it. You know
always
that.
say you take the risk factors into care individually. Just because there are multiple of them, their effects will also multiply. But if you cut down one of them, the benefits are also in similar way. So if you have a cardiovascular risk, you control your body weight, you exercise regularly, you control your blood pressure, your cholesterol is controlled, your diet is good, you're avoiding tobacco, you may be someone who just passes through that cardiac disease without having to pay the price for it.
Right. So yes, one quick thing about understanding your own body is important. Ankit says that time and over कि आप अपने you're trying to do exercise or diet, or you're focusing on yourself, and it is not one tailor-made thing that you follow all the time. So having light on our own selves is very important. Watching us, our diet or nutrition or exercise pattern is very important. Wonderful, wonderful session. I am today a little more motivated having a look at these two individuals who are very, very focused. So that shows me a path to be more continuously engaging with my own self. Wonderful. So, Dr. Rakesh, I'll to end the session, we want you to give us some top tips to manage obesity in men in their for men in their 30s, especially beer belly.
I think most important is to track your weight. Don't lose sight of it. If you stand in front of the mirror and you feel you're obese, you are. Number two is don't have acceptance for it. This is important. In your family members, in your friends, always push them to get themselves at the right body weight. Make exercise as a regular part of your routine. If it doesn't become routine, it doesn't happen. Take care of your food. I'm someone who eats majority of the time outside, so I carry my own bag. I eat fruits and vegetables predominantly because I don't know how to cook. So you will find your own solutions in whichever odd situations you are. If you have already developed obesity, then you need to understand the diet and exercise. Creating that negative calorie deficit is what is the goal. You can also take medical help for cutting down weight in terms of surgical and medical remedies, and get yourself a health check if you're on the wrong side of weight. Look at your blood pressure, your blood sugar, both of them can be checked at home. You can look at your cardiovascular health. You can look at your liver for fatty liver. If you're snoring, consult your doctor. And if you're having mechanical issues, you can consult your doctor or your physiotherapist to get your posture right, to get your bones and joints also functioning right. I think that is very, very important. Anatomically and physiologically, both the ways you need to fight the fat well.
Wonderful. Very, very interesting tips, Dr. Rakesh, and very practical tips that you have given us. Ankit, now your chance. We would want to know how to kick off the beer and how to kick off the beer belly that it has gotten, and how to
Yeah.
keep yourself motivated on the track.
Yeah. It's like I'm looking at myself, so it's like I'm giving tips to myself. But yeah, here's my from my experience to everyone. For me, what I've realized is that perspective is very important. So I know people who check their weight every day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day. But I think sometimes it becomes a little demotivating when you see that number is not changing. सो आई अंडरस्टैंड कि आप वेट चेक करो हफ्ते में एक बार, महीने में 2 बार, वो बहुत अच्छा है अगर वो आपको मोटिवेट करता है. बट अगर आप अपना पर्सपेक्टिव चेंज करके फिटनेस की तरफ जा सकते हो, टू बी मोर फिट देन जस्ट टू रिड्यूस वेट, आई थिंक इट विल गिव यू बेटर एंड longer results. I know so many dancers, I know so many people in other professions who are a little obese, but they're extremely fit. So that's one thing. The other thing is to try and create a habit. Start, if you don't do anything which involves fitness, just start by walking. Develop a habit of walking and then go into running, then go into gymming. Start, have a very strong foundation. That is very important. Uh, Try intermittent fasting. If diet is something which you are finding hard to control, intermittent fasting try करिए. 16 घंटे फास्ट करिए, 8 घंटे खाइए. Try HIIT, high intensity workouts. Again, like we talked about, networking is very important, but the amount of alcohol which you drink is completely your choice. You can talk to people, come back, sleep on time, get up early in the morning. See, look at the sun, like doctor said, look at the sun and it'll help you. So yeah, all these things.
So much that you both have put into one little episode of this. I can go on and on with this topic because this is my favorite topic, and you guys have nailed it. Wonderful tips you have given, and you have kept us motivated all through. ये दोनों को देख के मुझे ऐसा नहीं लगता है कि एक डॉक्टर है एक एक्टर है, दोनों तो फिटनेस enthusiast दिखते हैं मुझे. So leaving this session with more motivation and energy to keep myself staying on track. Thank you, Dr. Rakesh Periwal and Ankit Arora.
Thank you, Josie.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Lovely meeting you.
Wonderful session from both of our experts. If you want to consult Dr. Rakesh Periwal, his link to consult is given in the description as well. You can take it further. Thank you once again. Namaskar, doctor. Thank you, Ankit.
Thank you. Bye.
चलिए हेल्थ क्विज आ रहा है. Here's the health quiz. The rules are there on the screen. I'm going to ask you 3 questions shortly. Answer the questions on YouTube chat only. Winner's name will be announced towards the end of the show, and winners will be selected. If I've taken your name to be as a winner, you have to write back to us with marketing at apollo247.com. Gift vouchers or health credits will be shared with you. एक हफ्ता डिले हो सकता है, बट डेफिनेटली आपके हेल्थ क्रेडिट्स जमा हो जाएंगे आपके अपोलो अकाउंट में. चलिए, द क्वेश्चंस. Here are today's questions. Question number 1 on your screen. Fill in the blank. 1/4 of the world's population is infected with T blank C blank S bacteria. Oh, these are not the questions from this week. I'm absolutely sorry for this health quiz slide. Let's remove this health quiz slide, and actually let me take a call that today's health quiz stands cancelled. So I will not be conducting health quiz because I don't have time. Please excuse me, my dear audience. We will continue doing the health quiz next week. So there was a wrong slide placed. We will correct, and absolutely sorry for that confusion. चलिए coupons दे देती हूँ. आज के coupons है AskDoc150. Use this code on Apollo 24/7 to get up to 150 rupees cash back on online doctor consultation. You have to use this on Apollo 24/7 app. पहले app download कीजिए and doctors direct from Apollo consult कीजिए. Coupon number two. Coupon number two. Yes, here are our first three. That is 25% off मिलेगा जब आप order करेंगे online medicines on Apollo 24/7. You also get up to 2-hour delivery. You order medicines direct from Apollo and get 25% off. Use the code first three. Third coupon that we give away today is HH247, which is an exclusive coupon for our health our viewers. You can get up to 199 off on online consultation with doctors and also 20% off on online medicine orders when you order from Apollo 24/7. You can use this HH247 in addition to the other two coupons as well. And also let me remind you that if you have an Apollo 24/7 account and you have downloaded the app, you can also now place your orders on WhatsApp, which is even more convenient, and they're just a call away or a text away. 9355 247 247 is the number that you can WhatsApp them to avail healthcare services, which is almost equivalent to having an Apollo 24/7 app. And also next week we are going to talk about summer special episode here. Let's discuss kids diseases, which are very, very important because summer brings in a lot of kids issues. So next Sunday we are going to meet you. That's 21st May, 11 a.m. Thank you so much all of you for joining and asking your questions. Namaskar.